In today's video, we're going to be replacing the rear rotors and brake pads on this Ram 1500. So let's get started. All right, welcome to today's video, guys. So I've done this before. You guys have seen me do this on Ram 1500 at least a few times, I think, but I know I've done it a bunch of times. I think I've filmed it at least a couple, but this is a little bit different because normally you guys see me working in a garage and you get the funny guy comment, oh, it's so easy for you, you just work on a lift. Not all the time. So today's video, I'm gonna show you guys can do it in your driveway the same way I'm doing. So I've got everything here. I don't even have a jack, you guys, so I'm using the jack from the truck. I got the front wheels blocked, and we're going to throw the wheel underneath for safety. But as far as tools go, I don't even have my own tools. So I'm borrowing my sister's boyfriend's toolkit. So he just has a generic toolkit as well. I've got my brake rotors. I've got my pads. We'll talk about those in just a second. Brake clean. I've got paper towels and even some hand cleaner. So this is exactly as if you guys would do it if you wanted to tackle something like this, just with your basic tools and getting the job done. So I do want to talk about these brake pads. You guys might be wondering, why are you changing them so soon? If you guys follow me, I've only had the truck for, I guess, maybe half a year, but we put 30,000 miles on the truck with the brand new brakes that we put on the last time, and we were towing for a lot of that. So they're still surviving, but I'm getting a little bit of brake shake. I originally thought it was the fronts, and I figured since I was going to change out the pads, I might as well just change the rotors at 30,000 miles. Not that I'm trying to throw money out, but I put on some pretty cheap ones last time. These ones I spent a little bit more money, so they're better quality, and I figured I was getting a little bit of brake shake after towing. I was going through the mountains and I was coming down the mountains, and after coming down that grade, I felt some sort of brake shake in the truck. So I figured I probably warped a rotor or something like that after coming down the mountain pass on the brakes with the trailer fully loaded. So that's what I figured. I replaced the front, but I still had the brake shake, and I'm guessing it's just going to be the rears. So you can actually put a dial indicator gauge and turn the wheel and see the run out, but I don't have any of my tools with me, so it's cheaper, honestly, and it's probably easier just to change the rotors. So that's what we're doing. I do have Z17 power stop pads on the rear still, so these are low dust pad, but if you guys saw my comparison, I compared the front ones. We have Z36 on the front, and that's what these are. So I'm matching my rear pads to the better ones. I put these on the front and I got way better bite, so the initial bite when you press the brake pedal was a lot better with the Z36 versus the 17s that I had on all four corners. So these will now match the fronts, and we'll get straight to work. So I'm going to pop the wheel off. You guys know how to do that, and we'll get straight into it. Okay, so wheels off. I stuffed it underneath the frame there as well for some added safety, but I don't know if you guys can see this. You can kind of see right here where there's kind of some material, I guess, where it's probably got some high-low spots on it. I don't know if you can see that with the camera picking it up, but either way, like I said, 30,000 miles on these, so we're gonna go ahead and swap them out. It does look like they're lasting pretty dang good, but I also want to get the other pads on there because they don't produce as much dust. Since I'm doing the work myself, it's not costing me that much to do it as well. So I will link everything as well that we're using, but what I'm going to do before I take stuff off, you'll see this here. You might have this on here. It's like the factory retainer. I just put it back on, so you can actually grab like a needle nose and turn it off and unscrew it if you want to reuse it. It just kind of keeps the rotor in place, but I ended up reusing it. So you can cut it off if you want, but that's why that's there. So that'll have to come off. You can see the slot here, and we can put a screwdriver in here and retract our piston here as well. So I'll do that before taking the caliper off so that we can fit our new pads in here as well. Okay, and just like that, I usually pry on the rotor or anything but the piston. Definitely don't want to put a screwdriver on the piston, but just like that, the caliper is retracted. So now we can go ahead and get into our hardware. So there's gonna be 2 sets. You're gonna see this here, 10 mil, and then another 10 mil on the bottom. That'll take the caliper off the bracket, but then in order to get the rotor off, we're gonna have to take out these 21 mils. There's one here and one down there, and that'll take the bracket off. So 2 parts of the caliper. Let's take off the 10 mils first. Okay, so we got our 2 10 mils removed. There's one, and the second one, as soon as I remove it, this caliper will be free. So you can use something to suspend it, or what I sometimes do is you can get it to sit on top of the axle, but you don't want to suspend it from your brake line or your sensor. That's the last thing you want to do. So now we can take out our pads. You might find that the pad's a little bit fun to try to maneuver out of there with the rotor in the way. You can always wait until you take the bracket out. It can give you a bit more room to take your old pads out and load your new ones in as well. So use a 21 mil socket, and we'll remove the 2 bolts to hold the bracket on. All right, so now with the bracket off, I will mention one thing. So your parking brake is a drum on the inside of the rotor. Because I haven't had this on here that long, chances are it's just gonna slide off, but some guys will have to remove the little plug on the backside. So you can see it right here, and you'll have to get one of those forks, like a brake tool or an actual flat screwdriver, and retract the star wheel in here like your typical standard drum brakes. But if you're lucky like I'm about to probably show you, this should just wiggle right off. All right, so here's the pads. One noticeable thing I did see is, even though there's a ton of material left, I did see a nice chunk missing out of this right there in the center. So there's also like a crack in the material there. Don't know how much that would have affected things, but probably would say that they did get pretty hot at some point, which, like I was mentioning, I had that crazy towing situation the one time. So anyways, those are out. Now I can start with the new stuff. So I'm gonna load up the new pads into my bracket. I gotta get the rotor on here. I gotta clean it with brake clean, and we'll keep moving. So I'll link these for you guys. On the last set of rotors, I ended up painting this section black, and then also up top. So if you look at mine, you'll notice that they kind of rust everywhere. I guess I didn't paint up top, but I painted this section black at least. But it's nice that these ones already come with that already painted right from the get-go, so you don't have to look at rusty rotors once you get your first rainfall. So, or you wash the vehicle. But I'm gonna just wash these off. You guys aren't missing anything. I'm just gonna clean them all off with brake clean, and then we'll hang these. All right, so we got both sides cleaned off with brake clean. Now let's go ahead and hang this thing. So our new pads do come with new clips as well, so you can swap those out if you choose to, and then we'll load up the new pads. So there we go, new clips, new pads, and let's go ahead and throw the bracket back on. All right, so we got our bracket, our 21s are tight. So now we can grab our caliper and we'll swing it around, but just before we install this, there is slider pins on here. So underneath this boot, you're gonna see your slider pins. Hopefully they shouldn't be seized or anything like that, but it's not a bad idea to take them out right now, and we'll clean them up and we'll install the provided slider pin grease as well. So here they are, all cleaned off, and then it does provide power stop grease for these. So we'll smear this all over it, and then we'll put these back into the boots. All right, so we got the 2 slider pins in there. They're greased. Now we can go ahead and hang this on, and we'll put the 2 10mm bolts in. Just make sure that your boots are actually fully seated on both ends, because there's a lip and a groove on both sides of these boots. All right, double check your work, double check all your hardware is tight. Also make sure your brake lines, sometimes some people can get this twisted up in a weird way so that it gets into your wheel. It's gonna be obviously right here, so make sure that the routing looks free and it's under tension and not wrapped around, so it's going to get into your wheel. And then we can go ahead and throw our wheel back on. All right, same deal on this side, you guys. I'm just gonna whip right through it. You guys already know the same steps, it's just the opposite side. So I'll whip right through it, put the new stuff on, and then we'll wrap up this video. All right, new brake pads are on, all our hardware's tight, new rotors on, so we're good to go. Let's go ahead and throw this wheel back on. Okay guys, so the job is done. I will show you guys one thing though, specific to these pads. There is a specific break-in procedure, so make sure you follow these. You guys, 5 aggressive decelerations from 40 mile an hour to 10. Then it wants you to do 5 moderate decelerations from 35 to 5. Drive slowly to cool down your brakes for 5 minutes as well. So not to come to a complete stop, but like I said, a very specific procedure to bed those in. And that's pretty much it. Everything will be linked down in the description below. If you guys want to know how to do the fronts, I'll also link that separate video down below for you guys. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys on the next one.